In April of 2015, I was the night before I was studying for my SATs, and the next morning I woke up just like a normal day, had my breakfast, hopped in the shower, and when I was in the shower, my dad comes running back inside. He's like, "Coty, all your bikes are gone," and like it hit me hard. I got out, I got dressed, I went out, and I ran into the trailer, and when I turned my head around the corner and I saw no bikes in my trailer and just the door down, it hit me hard. I was like, I felt violated. Like someone came on their property and pretty much ripped a part of my life away from me just like that.
When I saw our trailer door open in the morning, I knew the bikes were gone. And it was just heartbreaking knowing that someone didn't care. They don't care. They just steal other people's property. And they took our son's life that day for a short period of time. And if I ever caught them, I'd break their hands in a heartbeat.
We went inside, my mom, my dad, my sister, and I, and we just started finding pictures of my bikes, and then started going on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and blowing it up, like try to help find my bikes. And I was completely upset. And I remember me not wanting to go to school. Like I would not want to go to school because all this happened. And my dad was like, you gotta go, just go to school. Like, just do your part, try your best on the SATs, and whatever score you get, you get. Like, we understand if you don't do good. And so I remember going to school, and I was in the worst mood I've ever been. And all my friends are like, dude, what happened? Because they saw my posts, and they wanted to know like where, when, how, and all this. I was like, look, just leave me by myself. I need to regroup. So I remember taking the SAT for the 4 hours I was in there, and every question I came across, like I could barely focus. I was just thinking, who could have done it? Who's been in my house recently that knew how to get into my trailer and all this stuff? And I knew when I handed my test booklet back in, I was like, I failed, like just whatever. So I remember walking out of school and looking at my phone, and I got a text from my mom saying, we found one of your bikes. It was the Honda 250. And I was like, no way, like it's a start. Like, I mean, that's just one of my bikes. And I was so excited because I knew then I had a bike to ride after that. So I remember going home, and we're checking all the areas of where they took my bikes, and there's a neighborhood behind my house, and there's a lady that saw the kids 4 o'clock in the morning, and we were like, why didn't you call the police? And she was like, oh, I thought these kids were just going on a joyride. And we're like, lady, like who takes a joyride on bikes 4 o'clock in the morning, and 4 of them at the same time? And she was like, I don't know. So she wasn't much help. And I mean, the local police department, like they did everything they could try to find my bikes, and still to this day they're gone. And
we first met Coty through a mutual friend, Saunders Moore. We started hanging out at the track, and Saunders was sponsoring him at the time, and just started hanging out, seeing him more and more. Blue Diamond, Speed City.
Yeah, we'd rent the track and ask him if he wanted to come along, you know. And at the time, I couldn't even believe he was actually old enough to drive, because he looked like he was all of 12, even though he was probably actually 16.
Yeah.
But he was just like, I don't know, he wasn't just like a fast kid. It was the fact that he was like one of the nicest, most genuine kids of his age. Like when he was at the track with us, he wouldn't be sitting there on his cell phone the whole time. He was, you know, super, you know, engaged. Yeah, absolutely. Just a really, really nice kid, and that's probably what impressed us more than the fact that he was fast than anything
And then
else.
his family was just as nice, so
yeah,
just made everything we all kind of just meshed together. I saw that his bikes got stolen, and me coming from a riding background where when I was 16 years old, that's all I did every day was, how fast can I get home from school to go ride, and how much daylight do I have before I have to go home, eat dinner, and go to bed. So I knew, I don't know, but I could only imagine the significance of losing your bikes. Losing them because you got bad grades or because your family went through a struggle is one thing, but losing them because somebody stole them is completely different. And his family's being so, wrapped around motocross from, the mom, the dad, the sister when she's, before she was off to college. And it kind of almost was like a hurting feeling to me because I was like, man, I can only imagine what he's going through. I was never his speed, but, the fact that, just being a dirt bike rider, riding motocross, right, going to races, losing that all at the blink of an eye, it's kind of tough.
When they found out that Cody's bikes were stolen, Ken had shared a story with us that his bike was stolen when he was younger, and he was just devastated over it, and he was in a position to not let Coty feel like that anymore.
Well, I think it started out, they had offered a reward. Yeah. I think it was $500 maybe. And I just on a whim put out there on Facebook, I believe, that, I'll pitch in $300, in addition to the $500 reward.
Yeah, and just kind of
and that
started to snowball.
Apparently that snowballed, and people said, I'll do this and I'll pitch in this much, and the reward got pretty high. And that's actually when Judy Schock went through Saunders to get my phone number and reached out to me, and she called me in the middle of the day and was just, I could tell she was crying over the phone. Just because of what I did caused more people to
started
to donate, and just that's not what I intended. I just was trying to help out in any way I could. And I told her, Judy, I said, I wish we could do more, and maybe we can. Maybe, we're trying to come up with something.
Yeah. So he told me about this because I don't do social media. I'm not on Facebook, so I didn't know about it. But he told me, and I was like, well, I was just going to get my bonus from work, and I totally knew the significance of that loss to him and the family. And it truly is. When you're a riding family, it wasn't just a loss to Coty, it was a loss to them. I mean, their whole world really revolved around the sport. So I was like, well, money's money. Let's just buy him a bike.
I remember one day coming home from school, I was on my Ruckus. And I went to the gas station, filled it up, and it was the only thing I had to ride at the time. So when I made the corner to come around to my house, I see a truck with a brand new bike in the back. I was like, nah, this is too good to be true. Like, one of my friends just got a new bike and is stopping by.
We actually went through Diamond Motorsports. I contacted them, and they knew the situation obviously with the Schocks, but to me, or to them, me to them, I'm a complete stranger. Mm-hmm. So I ran this situation by them on what we were thinking about doing, buying a bike for Coty Schock, which is their sponsored rider, so it's kind of like a win-win. He's going to be able to go back to races, and we always have in the back of our mind, we hope the bikes get found. We were in the process of buying a new truck, so I asked the dealership to let me borrow the truck before we bought it, so I could drive to Diamond to pick up the bike.
Right.
And I had our buddy Saunders set up a fake dinner date with the whole family because I didn't have their phone numbers, I didn't have their address.
Well, we didn't know them like that.
And I'd never been to their house, and so he got the whole family to be home, and so I went down, picked up the bike from Diamond, drove it over, and I pulled up, and they had, they were kind of shocked to see that I was there. They were like, Ken, what are you doing here?
And they thought he bought himself a new bike.
Yeah, they saw the brand new bike in the back of the truck, and I said, I don't like to lie to anybody. Lying's not really my thing, but
Saunders isn't coming.
Saunders isn't coming to dinner. This was kind of all a deal I arranged. And the bike in the back of the truck is for Coty. It's his bike. He can use it as long as he wants, and whenever he's done with it, he can just give it back. Whether it's this year, next
attached.
year, Okay. I said we don't need to be listed as sponsors. We don't need, we're not doing this other than just between your family and our family. And they were floored. They were. It was funny when I pulled into the neighborhood. Coty actually had pulled out on his Ruckus to go get ice cream or something. I don't even remember. But so when he comes back, we had already had the kind of powwow, and everybody knew the deal but him. Oh, wow. And he's like, "Man, Ken, you got a new bike." And
sweet bike.
I'm like, "Well, thanks, but it's yours." And he looked at me and then looked at his mom, and his mom was like, yeah, that's your bike to ride and race. And he broke down. He was pretty emotional, but it was all for good reasons.
Yeah.
Ken was like, "What you think of your new bike?" I was like, "That's for me?" He was like, "Yeah, dude, like this is all for you. Don't worry about it. Just I want you to ride still." And I was the happiest kid. And tears came to my eyes, and I couldn't say thank you to him and his wife enough. Because I literally thought I was done until we were going to get the bikes back, because this sport is not cheap. I mean, the bike alone was like $7,000, and I couldn't see my parents just flipping another bill like that without having to wait a few months to save up and get one.
I don't know what we would be like without motocross in it. I don't know what we'd do. I don't know what, like when the bikes were stolen or when Coty was hurt, we didn't know what to do with ourselves. We honestly didn't know what to do. Because this is what we do, is we go racing. That's our life, so.
Yeah, it was like something was missing. Not going to the track, you just had a void where, okay, I can paint something around here, or I can fix something around here, but it was just a strange feeling.
The first time him and I met, I bought a used 252 stroke Yamaha off him. It was like his baby, and he was like, "Dude, I don't ride, just here." And I rode that bike so much. Like, I put over 100 hours on that thing. And we got rid of it, and then we got 2 brand new bikes. When they all get stolen, like, you have nothing, and you're in debt. And for him just to say, here's a bike, like, do your thing with it, was the best. And I can't thank him enough. And it's crazy how many good people are in this world that you just don't know. And that's why I always appreciate the little people more than the big people, because they'll stick by your side.
We're not your sponsor. We're your friend.
We're not a company. We're not trying to gain anything.
I'm not gaining anything by this other than getting to hang out with you at the track.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what it snowballed into. It was,
Yeah.
Hey, just all we ask, let us know when you're racing. And if we can make it, we'll make it.
After my bikes got stolen, I had 2 bikes to ride, and I was pumped. I'm out riding a month later down at Snake Creek, and I'm regrouping. I'm like, yeah, it's sad what happened, but I can keep going. And I remember Ken and Melissa came down to watch me ride, and it was at the end of the day, and I was hitting this triple out of this corner for months, and I had to go from 3rd to 4th gear to hit it. And just at the end of the day, I don't know what happened. I shifted from 3rd to 4th, and at the top of the face, it clicked down on me. I endoed, bailed off, and landed on my feet. It went to my face and started flipping, and I knew something was right, because it was pretty gross. But when I tried to get up, only top part of my leg moved, and the other part just stayed down. And I was like, I think I broke my femur.
So I was actually there, and I was the first one to him when he crashed. The bike actually landed on its wheels and took off. And not a scratch on the bike. Unfortunately, he broke his femur. That's eventually what all this evolved into. Was every time they went to a race, we were trying to do whatever we could to be there. And it turned out I would help Mike wrench on bikes. I would keep Coty kind of relaxed and calm, and just keep him out of whatever was going on. And she would end up going down to the track, or the starting gate, and kind of just hanging out with him, keep his mind fresh. And I would always go to
singing, dancing, whatever.
I would always go to the most obscure part of the track just to keep an eye on things, because I'm real anal when it comes to watching riders. If they're looking at something, if they're not using the brakes, or
it became like a routine. And Judy was like, you guys are now like a part of his riding world, and if you guys aren't there, it's like disruptive, because you guys are such a part of his normal routine now.
Yeah, when he gets back from the moto, you gotta have chocolate milk and bananas and yogurt, and
yeah, we know the drill.
Get him taken care of. Then we start working on the bike, get it cleaned, air filters, fuel.
We have great friends that have helped him out for all these years, and they continue to help him out, and we could never ever do this without all those people.
you couldn't ask for better support than that. You can't. That's family. That is true motocross family.
It's a weird situation. Like, I'm not happy at all that my bikes got stolen, but they say everything happens for a reason, and I don't know if it was a good thing that they all got stolen, because I would have never had the relationship with Ken and Melissa as I do now, and they're like family to me, and they do so much for me. And they're not the only ones. Like, I have plenty of other sponsors, but like, they came to me literally a week after my bikes got stolen. Like, who does that? And like, I'm just a kid, and I'm happy about what type of relationship we have now with them. So if my bikes are out there, just let me know, and I appreciate it. Why don't you just go A? I've been telling you this for over a year now, and I was like, I don't know. Like, am I ready? He's like, dude, you've been ready.